All right, everyone, welcome to a regular weekend edition of Nothing But Worry with your hosts, Lance Ash and his lifelong partner.
In crime. In crime.
Yes, it was criminal to bring those two children into the world.
Oh, God.
This is my wife, Bonnie.
Hello.
And, so how are you feeling right now?
We've had an interesting day. Fridays, Lance calls his mother. In the last couple of weeks, the last 4 weeks, his sister brought his mother from Montana in a car. And, so 5 days travel, and then they stayed here for a couple of weeks to settle the estate, get the house sold, all the contents sold, etc. And then another 5-day trip back. And Lance had to call his mother for his weekly visit this week, now that she's finally back home for a week in Montana. And you and I have been recovering from that phone call and its after effects since you got off the phone. You want to tell them all about that phone call?
Okay,
Tell her exactly.
okay, let me give you the full story. All right, I called. Okay, they're 2 hours back, so I called at 6, figuring it's 4 there. She should be lucid because she's got full blown dementia at this point. There's no more early stage about it. And so the later in the day, the less lucid she's going to be. So I call and nobody answers. All right. So
Shortly
now, before that, I called. Okay.
Oh, God.
I received an email from my sister saying she tried to call you back or something. Oh, by the way, this is boiling it down. She's losing her mind. So anyway, I come out of the playroom and Bonnie says somebody called, don't know who it was. So I play the message and it's my mother saying, I'm calling you back. So I called her back. She gets on the phone and she's raving crazy. I never thought it would happen to my mother. I've heard about other people's mothers, going demented, but she's going, there are people here who are trying to keep me a prisoner. They won't let me leave the house. And I'm like, oh my God almighty. And they won't let me get out of here. And my sister broke in on the call. I guess it was speakerphone or something. I don't know. She broke in on the call and she goes, that's not true. We took her shopping today. So she goes, she's listening in. She's breaking in. So anyway, she's going on about the same thing. And then she starts raving about the money from the house being something. I didn't catch what she said. My sister broke in again and said, that is not true, Mama. She said to me, we went to Walmart today and we took her with us. We cannot leave her alone here by herself. So anyway, I had to get off the phone. I couldn't deal with it. I'm like, well, I will, I'll call you. She goes, Lance, I need help. I need you to send somebody to help me. And she goes, tell Bonnie, don't forget about me. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus. So I get off the phone and I tell Bonnie, and Bonnie is trying to sleep. And she's so shocked for the story. She can't stay asleep. She gets up and she calls my sister. And here's the full story. Is there anything details you want to add?
Yeah, I'm going to tell what Catherine said now.
Okay.
Okay. So I recognize immediately what Catherine's going to be going through because this has escalated really quickly, and that can happen. People with Alzheimer's, you think they're okay and they've leveled out, and then all of a sudden there's this spike, and they are over the edge. And so I've dealt with this, and we've heard stories from friends and family issues and all that. And so I said, hey, I just wanted you to know, Catherine, that we know that you're taking care of her and there's no harm coming to her. And look, I've got your back. I understand you've done a lot to take care of her, etc. And she just, oh my God, the floodgates opened. So apparently after they left Arnoldsville to return to Montana. Like I said, it's 5 days. And Catherine said she was getting really, really tired. Just from the travel. It was confusing and overwhelming. There was all these stimuluses and odd places. And every day she got worse and worse and worse. And at one point, she's in the car with Catherine, and Chuck is ahead of them in the big U-Haul. And she goes, "Where are you taking me? Why are you kidnapping me?" Just starts going crazy. And Catherine's like, Mama. So she gets Chuck on the phone. She said, she likes, Mama likes Chuck. They get along well when I'm not at work. And so she got Chuck to pull over. And they put Jane in Chuck's truck. And everything seemed to be going okay. She seemed to remember who Chuck was. And then at some point or another, she looked at him and didn't know who the fuck he was. "Who are you trying to kidnap me?" She started to open the damn door. And this is not some, small little U-Haul that's next to the ground. No, you got to take steps to get up to it. It's the full-size thing. And Chuck knew if she's out that door, there's no help, So he restrains her, gets Catherine on the phone, and Catherine's trying to talk her down, and they get her, okay. She's going to stop trying to get out of the car. No, it's all right. Yeah, I know who you are. I understand. I was overreacting. So Chuck keeps her in the truck. And, oh my God. This was a long call with Catherine, by the way. He said that she started getting fixated on all these stickers. The inside of the U-Haul cab has this "need help?" ? Call us. Contact us for emergencies. And she was looking at this sticker. She's fixated, and all of a sudden she starts picking at the corners, and she spends the longest time just pulling it off, trying to peel the sticker off. And Chuck was fine with this. He didn't care if they were going to charge him for a fee. So they get to the next stop along the route, and Catherine comes over to Jane's door and opens it and gets Jane out of the truck. And Jane's still holding on to the sticker. And she said, "I got this. It says help, and I'm going to show it to all the truckers that are driving by. I'm going to put it in the window so they can get me help." Catherine could not believe it. She kept getting worse and worse.
I knew this was going to happen because
I know this is going to happen.
Unfamiliar environment and unfamiliar surroundings.
I knew this was going to be a big stressor. We were shocked that she had settled in as much as she did in Montana. Chuck would take her out on little trips around the homestead. He's got, I don't know how many acres out there, a couple hundred acres, and cows and stuff. And they would go out and visit the baby cows, and, she seemed to be having a good time. But this trip, Catherine said that when they arrived at Jane's home, her home here in Georgia, that Jane didn't recognize the place at all. No surprise, given that she's moved 5 times in her married life. But she had no memory of ever being in the house. And it took her a full day before she figured out where she was and that it had been her home.
Well, let me break in with a separate story related to the arrangements to sell the house and so forth. So, my sister was down there for 2 weeks, I think, getting everything ready for the final move of everything they wanted to keep back to Montana.
Everything up.
But everything they couldn't take with them or didn't want to take with them, they left, and they were going to have a woman come in and arrange an estate sale while the house is being sold and all this. So my sister said, "If there's anything you want," she told us this, "come down and get it the day before the estate sale woman shows up." Okay. So
We literally had one day from Catherine packing up the house to this woman showing up.
So we go down there, and I think I've already told everybody I hurt my arms really
Yeah.
bad, hurt my back, hurt my everything. Well, anyway,
We brought back these
So
two
we-
huge rugs.
we were like 4 rugs,
Yeah, well,
two
they were
huge ones and two sort of regular sized ones, and a big sort of a vacuum cleaner. Well, the two big rugs were too big for the house, and Bonnie thought that the vacuum cleaner was too heavy and too
It was 30
unwieldy.
pounds.
So so she calls the estate sale woman and says, "Look, we can't use this crap. Can we take it back down there?" Yeah, and add it to the sale. All right. Well, meanwhile,
They post pictures.
Reed had our daughter had went down there with us, and she'd selected this set of dishes. But when she got home, she found out she hadn't gotten the whole set, and Bonnie realized, oh, that's right, the other whatever 2 settings is up in the cabinet. So Bonnie calls the woman and says, "We didn't get that full set of dishes. Can we come out and get it?" And she goes, "Yeah, but you're going to have to pay for it." And here's my
And
thing.
you can't come down until the day it opens, and you're going to have to compete against other people to get it. She
So-
wouldn't even set it aside for her.
So I'm like, well, we gave the rugs back and the vacuum cleaner. Shouldn't that count for something?
Apparently not with
So
this woman.
it's just unbelievable.
It was a level of pettiness. So the people you don't want to use are Bluebird Estate Auctions in Georgia. Don't use them at all.
So
Petty woman.
So anyway, as far as my week has been, I was off Sunday night for Memorial Day, so I only had a 4-day weekend. And that's why this is a regular weekend show, because it's just 2 days of a weekend. Anyway, had not a bad week, but I'll say this, it took me until yesterday to fully recover from all that hoo-ha of the moving that shit out of the house.
It stripped all of us of energy.
Yeah.
It was a
And I finally,
thing.
like day before yesterday, I had the worst sleep because I'm an old man now and I have enlarged prostate problems and so forth. So I got to pee a lot now. And it's not a cliche about getting older. It really is true. So the other day before yesterday, I got up to
8.
pee 8 goddamn
8.
times
8.
during the course of the day. And then, so when I went to work that night, I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to have any water. And I'm going to,
Normally you drink how often? Once an hour?
well, I kind of stopped that now at where I work now. I really don't know why I stopped drinking so much water. But anyway, the night before I had some water. So I said, okay, well, plus I think not having enough salt in my system helps. So that yesterday when I slept, it was unbelievable what a difference. I woke up just one time to pee, which is pretty much normal. And I did a regular weights workout before I went to work. And when I got up to go to work and when I came home from work, I told Bonnie, what a difference. I feel better than I have in a week. And so this morning when I got home from work, I slept a good 4.5 hours and got up. And I'm just determined to make the most of this weekend because it's back to 2 days.
We literally have no errands to run this weekend.
Yeah.
We've got a house full of fresh produce, and I mean, we don't need to even pick up a thing of milk at this point unless Peter wants it.
So my show of paintings is up until the 27th. I'm hoping I'll get some sales and some name recognition from it. The local media outlets know about it, so we'll see how much they promote it.
Well, I already got the confirmation they're going to put it in Flagpole. But whether or not she takes the extra information and uses it for an article, I don't know.
Well,
But the
the
guy
main
from
thing is,
Athens Banner Herald hasn't gotten back to me. And they have a different setup than when I was dealing with PR for the library.
they might just make a blurb and just mention it in passing, but
Yeah,
local
well, the goal-
local shit,
The goal when you send out a press release is not just to provide the basic information,
Yeah.
boom, but you also have additional information like
The information we want them to have.
exactly. And so I include a brief bio, and for an artist, you want to include what their inspirations are, what type of medium they work in, that sort of thing, what their background is, and then at the end, I also mention the other things that you do as a creative person. So I include a link to your latest song. I include a link to some cartoons, some previous work, etc. And those are all just embedded links. And
Well, I hope-
so if they're curious, they can just type, click through, see if this is something they're interested in. And I've already basically written a lot of the stuff, and I always write, please feel free to use as you desire verbatim.
Well, I'm hoping that they print the photograph of the painting that we sent them, because
It's weird.
the last time I had a show, it is a weird painting. But the last time I had a show, they printed a nice sized color photograph of one of the paintings that was in the show, so that was good.
The only thing working against us at this time is the direction of the painting. The other was horizontal. It's just, there's a certain
No,
level of,
no, they're both
With-
they're both portrait oriented.
are you sure about that?
Yeah, the painting that they showed for the previous, or they showed printed for the last show, was the guy standing in front of the heater with his hands up.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway,
We'll see what happens.
oh
You
Lord.
never know if they've got a friend of theirs or they have something they prefer.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is personal preference and who knows who. And then there's just timing.
Yeah. So I'm hoping just to enjoy this weekend. Just started a new painting, and there's no rush on anything. At some point, I'm going to crash, but I'm trying to push it as long as I can. So, how much sleep did you get today?
It feels like not enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like.
Well, since I got you here on the spot.
Oh, no, you're
No,
not reading to me.
no. I'm just saying what I want to do later at some point. I want to show you one or two old paintings in this book.
Well, you want to show them to me right now? And you describe them, and then I describe them. We compare the two.
Okay.
Okay. Prediction number 1. You have to pick the thing, but don't show it to me, okay? And then ask me what my prediction is going to be about it, okay?
What she's going to say is, "Oh, I wish you painted like this now. Oh, you were so much better back then. Oh, it's so much more detailed."
Okay, have you picked a picture?
Well, there was a
Don't let me see it yet.
Hold on. There was a couple of things. I think these are the two I wanted to show you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, number 1, I predict there is a penis in the picture. Okay.
No, there's not.
Number 2, it has those ears that I really don't like. Okay. And you have these weird ears. They're not cauliflower ears, but it's like cinnamon bun ears or Princess Leia ears or something. You do that sometimes, and it drives me nuts.
Okay. Well, before I show before I show her the two photographs, I want to say some of the stuff I wanted to do. I wanted you to read a page or two in that comic book, and I wanted to
What
read.
comic book is that?
It's Hate Comics,
Oh, okay.
and I wanted to read something to you out of that Ninos Falaartis book.
And who is that?
I think he's still alive.
Who?
He is a multi-language speaking professor of literature who, in that particular book, it's all like prose poems, and I just think they're brilliant. He's from Greece, but
Yeah, as soon as you said the name, I thought of Z, so I knew that was wrong.
yeah. And okay, so let's see if you can. These two on the right here. Look how good these are, and these are like from 12 years ago.
You're right about your assessment. It
Yeah.
seems like you tried harder back then. Now, are these larger paintings?
Okay, these are both 32 by 32. These are on
Okay.
homemade canvases, and that's the main difference. Is that I bought raw canvas, had to stretch it, and I had to put primer on it, so it's a rougher surface than what I use now.
But because it's larger, it means that you have to
Yes.
figure out more things.
But no, I had more
in the
room
picture,
too.
And you add more things. Now, one thing that I don't understand about your current small pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and they're half the size of this, you add a border around the ones now, the small ones.
Right.
And that makes the internal image, the center image, even smaller.
Yeah.
And these, it seems like you would have had room to have done the small creatures border that you do sometimes.
Well, the thing is, I wish I could move to a larger size canvas, but it's hard in that little tiny studio
Okay,
with that
do
little.
you remember the stories behind these things? What's going on? Because
Okay.
this right here, you've got a small little plane with two people looking at the scene below.
Right.
Who are these people?
I don't know, and I don't remember the title for this one, but it's basically there's a guy on the left riding this biped beast, like some sort of weird cartoon dinosaur, and he is standing in the way of this tiny automobile that's trying to drive, and it's like there's a conflict between who has the right of way.
I'm a motorist.
Now, the one above, I happen to know, is called Father is Delayed. And this is the family back home watching television. They're waiting for Father to show up.
A brown hair woman, two brown hair kids, a boy and a girl. Who does that represent? I wonder.
Now, what are they watching on television? Can you see?
Oh, it's Stargate!
No, it's not.
But it's got a little circle, a ring of
No,
light.
look what it is. It's a bacon and an egg. It's an anthropomorphic bacon and egg.
But there's a bright, glowing light. That's supposed to be the egg.
So the main.
Wait a minute, is that egg sliced in two and the face is in the yolk?
Right.
Oh my fucking god, that's absolutely brutal, man.
So anyway, in the main image is this guy. He's trying to get back home, and there's this giant kangaroo that's holding a picture in front of him as some sort of barrier. And I just think it's.
Oh, I know what it is. I'm your new supervisor, and I need to discuss your sick leave and absences with you for the quarter.
What's amazing is I've reached the age where, see, when you're younger, you're used to your earlier work being shitty. But when you get older, you reach a point where you started getting good 15 years ago. And so you're so habituated looking back at your early work as shit that you look back at your old work now and you're like, damn, that's pretty good back then. And it's a strange experience. And
you go through definite periods of different. Stylistically, you're very similar across the board. But there are periods when you have honed that style in a particular way at a particular angle. And there are some of those periods I just don't like. They seem sloppy. They seem slack. Like I think you're going through that right now. But other ones like that period right there. The period where the guys are in the garage and they've got the girly calendar on the wall. Yeah. The one with Shel Silverstein doing brain surgery. That's a fabulous period. You put so much into those. And the way you expressed yourself was, I don't know.
It
just seemed to.
This book goes most recent to older. Look at these in the very front. I can't believe how good these are.
Yeah, that one is really cool. You've got this figure serving a man at a table. And the figure who's serving, there are multiple facets. It's like he's a stack of televisions. And each of the televisions is a different scene. And one of the televisions is actually not a television at all. It's a television on its side. It's like the person's coming out of the TV and he's talking to the man at the table. And then above that is another mask. Just bizarre.
Well, look at the ones.
Penis.
Look at the ones on the bottom. Okay, turn this sideways so you can see.
Yeah.
Look how the hair is done. Look at the modeling in the face.
I know that guy.
Who is
that? You wouldn't it?
No. Mm-mm.
Jesus. Okay, that's interesting. Our sci-fi television thing seems to be reflected here. Got a planet seen on the television, a moon, everything. Just bizarre. Okay. Wow.
That's the first one I ever did on a store-bought canvas.
You remember Nine Figs, that thing you wrote?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't there a scene where the guy gets up on the stage?
Probably.
And he's talking and doing his poetry? That's what it immediately reminded me of.
You read some of that recently. Or some of my written stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Look at this one. Look at those faces.
Who are these? Are these both versions of you?
No, well, no.
They have kind of a rock star quality. See, part of me wants you to really recreate some of these. This one right here, chiropractor in Kentucky.
Yeah,
We both know who it is.
yeah.
You met him in elementary school. I met him in high school. A friend of mine set me up with him. And then later in college, I touched base with him again. No, that's not a euphemism. We just literally ran into each other. This one, very interesting.
Well, I'll tell you the story. Go back to the chiropractor in Kentucky one.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you the story behind this. The picture depicts a scene from my relationship with this kid I knew when I was in 5th and 6th grade, being depicted on a theater stage, and there's 4 people in the audience, and they're having different reactions to what's going on. And what's going on is a story that happened. When I was in 3rd grade for Christmas, I'd received this little pocket knife, my first pocket knife, little bitty thing. And for some reason, I had it with me or something. Well, I used to visit this kid during the summers. Every day I'd go over to his house and hang out. He had the camping pocket knife where it's got a fork and a spoon in it, and I just always wanted one. So I traded this little pocket knife to him for that one. So I get it home, and I'm like, look what so-and-so traded for me. I traded that little pocket knife. And my mother threw a fit. Well, that wasn't yours to give away. It wasn't yours to trade. And I'm thinking,
But I thought it was yours.
I thought it was mine. It's stupid. It's because you go back and you demand that you swap back. You get your knife back. So the scene is of me telling him I've got to get that knife back. And he's like, well, a deal is a deal. And I'm like, I know, but I've got to get it back or I'll get in big trouble. So I get it back from him, and that's what the scene depicts. Well, here's the outcome. He had taken an electric sharpener to my pocket knife in the meantime and whittled it down with a big mark on it. Anyway, whittled a lot of the metal away.
Lord. So maybe use this one for the thing tonight?
Oh, you want? Okay, all
Maybe,
right,
it's just a thought.
okay, all right.
It's just all kinds of good ones. We'll probably find another in here. Oh, the 3-headed guy. 4-headed.
That's on the cover of one of my records.
Oh. Okay.
My dad loves that one. He thinks it's funny. It's a guy
right.
getting a what? Oh, hold on, let me tell you about this one. It's of a guy getting a dental cleaning, and the dental technician is sitting in his lap.
Straddling his lap.
While she's doing the cleaning.
Which reminds me of the terrible way that my dentist tried to take my wisdom teeth out. He just tried to pull them out.
Oh, had to get some leverage.
And he literally straddled the chair I was in and finally just said, I can't do this. I'm going to send you to an oral surgeon. These are invalid.
God.
It was a horrible,
When was this?
horrible experience. 1995.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we were married, or you just before?
No, it was before we married.
I've always liked that one too. There's a guy sitting in a chair while another man behind him is using a device to look at his brain.
That would be interesting to compare to the Shel Silverstein brain surgery one.
Mm-hmm. The man who's being examined he's got a word balloon coming out of his mouth, but the word balloon is full of abstract symbols. Meanwhile, the guy who's examining his brain has a thought balloon, and it's this giant bug.
I was thinking
I
it
love
should have
that
been
one.
like dissection of an animal in biology class. Remember having to do that and pin them to the board? He should have been thinking about the insect being dissected.
I love this one. This is called The Warlord Makes His Choice. It's like it's homemade canvas. It's about 5 feet wide.
It's huge.
Yeah, it used to be in my room.
See, the first thing I was reminded of is the image of Gina and Doyle in the gallery opening picture painting
that one.
You did.
This one was deliberately done in the style of like a a science fiction book cover. So that it would wrap around. This would be the front part of the cover, and this would be the back.
Oh my God, maybe instead we should use this picture
Oh, that's a good one.
because this is relevant to what's going on today.
Okay.
This is a picture of your mother. And everybody knows the story of the old lady in the shoe. Old lady who lived in the shoe. And this has his mother hauling a house behind her as if she's just moving all of her possessions to yet another new location. Lance's parents have had 5 mortgages prior to getting a divorce. His dad has had an additional 3 mortgages after getting divorced. And his mother had to refinance the house twice after the divorce. And these are people who got divorced well into their 60s.
The name of that painting is Retirement.
And this, when I saw this, I knew exactly who this represented. She's got everything. She's dragging behind her all these possessions. And it's symbolic. It's like you drag your house behind you, even though you're moving from one house into another. But the house is just the things that are inside of it, really. That's what counts. That's what you're moving. And across the top are these animals that she's dragging along. And everybody's watching once again.
They all have
Genesis.
cameras. Everybody who's watching has a camera.
How many times is she going to drag this out?
This one down here is called Drug Addict and Sex Worker.
Wait a minute, which one?
This one. It's a giant pink kangaroo. He's the drug addict. And riding on his tail is this little tiny woman, and she's the sex worker. Well, her parents or caretakers have come to get her back, and they're in this robot machine, and they're offering a bottle of prescription pills to the kangaroo to let her go.
Oh my God. There's the Shel Silverstein one.
Yeah.
My God, so it was in this general period.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had dates on these.
I know.
Huh. So I keep flipping. Let's see. And it's like a seance.
The seance, and they're summoning the spirit of John
What's going on in
Coltrane.
this? We've got this guy, looks like he's got a microphone, and these 2 women are arguing with
I have no idea. It probably has some title that vaguely suggested it to me.
Lots of penises in this one, dear.
Well, that
They're
painting.
all on stage.
Okay,
too.
this one never got fully done, but it's supposed to be these like Planet of the Apes type creatures, and they're watching the Rolling Stones take a shower on TV.
Oh my God. Okay. This is a repeat. This one you showed me earlier. Okay. Is this Peter and you?
No, that's the father. He's disapproving of his son spending so much
So
time on.
it's you and your father, and you're watching science fiction.
No, it's really more like
Fantasy. Sorry.
No, it's nobody in particular. It's just
now.
it's just a kid today that's obsessed with computer games and stuff, and his father is like looking at it from.
Disapproving.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Nope, we're not going to discuss that one. Jeez Louise.
That is a lot of some of these are autobiographical.
Penis.
Yeah, that's definitely a penis there.
Yeah. That's hanging down to his knee. Definitely noticed that, dear.
A lot of these are autobiographical from incidents in my life. Some of these.
Any idea what's going on in this one? Is a car?
Well, okay, now
people
what this is?
surrounding it?
Okay, what this is about is, I went out with this girl. This friend of hers had set us up on a blind date, and basically what it turned out was she wanted a date for the prom, but she was too homely to get one. So she met me. We went out. We made out at her house, and she asked me to go to the prom with her and everything. Well, I didn't want to go, but I was willing to go if we were going to fuck. So I basically was like, well, if I go, we are going to fuck, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm getting a hotel room and everything. And I'm like, okay, well, and I wanted more and more assurances, right? And she had given me a piece of paper, a piece of fabric that was her color for the gown, and she wanted me to rent this tux to match it. And I'm like, whoa, you want me to spend money to rent a tux to go to a prom that I don't want to go to in the first place? Anyway,
Yeah, duh.
so the more she thought about it, the more she decided that I was a jerk. And
Yeah,
she called me on the phone and she said, "Forget it. I want you to meet me downtown and give me that piece of fabric back." So this scene depicts I
The
had
fabric exchange.
right,
Okay.
but this is my cousin Jason because he went with me, and while we were down there, he ran it right in front of where we were going to meet the exchange of. He ran into some people he knew and got to talking while this is all going on.
Now, what's with the Batman picture down here?
Okay, this is kindergarten. We were encouraged to wear our Halloween costumes to class, and they were going to have the kids' mothers there and everything. So everybody else showed up already dressed, but this other kid and I didn't. And we had to get dressed. There was a bathroom in the classroom. So his Batman costume, we both wore Batman costumes, but his was an actual store-bought Batman costume
Oh, no.
with the mask and everything. Mine was basically a raincoat with a hood that I had turned into a Batman cape. And that was
sad,
it.
Pathetic.
So we were in the bathroom and we had to jump out and scare everybody or some shit. And that's what that is.
Good Lord. Okay, going through the pictures. I just. Honestly, the light's so bad here. It's hard to tell a lot of the things about these.
You could lay it down on the sofa.
See the glare?
I've been wanting you to look at these for weeks.
Oh, you keep.
You see we're moving backward in time, and they get a little bit more. Right here is where they really start to get more crude.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that. So one of the things about you is your impatience. And it's one of the reasons that you like working with acrylics, because you do not have enough patience to work with oils.
Oils have to dry, and you can't layer them. Also, I found out that oils have to be varnished, or else they'll rot over time, and that's another whole, art form in itself. The varnishing.
So what's going on in this picture? We've got a guy here, looks like one of the two in Laurel and Hardy, and
It's just a collection of characters. That's all. There's no.
oh, okay. Alright.
A lot of these are like that.
So, this old guy, the wizard, the mage,
Mm-hmm.
anything about this pop in mind?
He's sort of magically balancing a computer or some sort of mechanism on his finger. That's pretty much it.
Let's see.
That one won a prize at the Linden House competition one year.
You
Like
have a
20
rabbit popping out of the hat.
Yeah, it's like $25 I won or something. Some like,
Some pittance.
third or fourth place thing.
Yeah.
It's like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Is what that one was.
Okay, I have looked at the book.
Thank you for
You
indulging
have
me.
improved.
Thank you. Can't believe I've been doing this so long. How long have we been recording? We have been recording 38 minutes. That's all.
Okay.
Oh dear me.
So, I was talking to your sister about your mom earlier, and I gave her some suggestions about, taking pictures of them as a group, having them in places near a mirror, where she goes, "Look, Mama, look, that's you in the picture, that's me in the picture, that's Chuck in the picture. We're here, we're part of your family," trying to remind her when she's freaking out and doesn't recognize these people. Have something that is relevant to the time,
She will be dead within a year, I'm telling you.
And they also discussed the fact that She and Chuck can no longer leave her alone for any period of time.
I wonder what he thinks he's gotten himself into.
Well, they were together for a couple of years, and he did come down here and stay with Catherine and Jane.
How long has it been?
Since
It hasn't been that long since she got married to this guy.
See, she got married in 2 stages last year. She had a wedding in Montana sometime in the summer, and then sometime in the spring before she had a wedding here that was the actual wedding. So I don't know. They've been together for a couple of years. He knew what he was getting into. He had stayed here for 6 or 8 weeks at one point for a stretch. So, yeah. But up to now, he's been really good with Jane. But at this point, Catherine's even stressed the hell out. So God knows what he must be going through. And I encouraged Catherine to talk to the nurse practitioner and the upcoming meeting with a neurologist about alternative ways to deal with Jane, for example. Montana's one of the states where cannabis is legal across the board, as long as you don't have more than an ounce. And you and I have both been told by doctors, me, cardiologist, you, neurologist, that gummies are something to consider for de-stressing, relaxing, and helping you sleep. And so I talked to her about maybe considering gummies. Somebody that Peter worked with for a while uses the Delta 8s, and he uses them daily to help himself sleep and stay asleep. He has a bad back, and apparently they relax his muscles in his back so much that he doesn't have to use anything else.
I guarantee you, if my sister gave my mother that, they'd have to lie to her about what it is. Because
she'll just tell her it's a vitamin.
Right, if she knew what it was, she'd be like, oh, no, I don't.
When I was taking care of Jane, she had gummy vitamins. And so Catherine will just go, it's a gummy.
Well,
and it won't be a lie, and Jane will just assume it's a vitamin.
I've heard of old people refusing to take pain medication because they didn't want to get addicted. You got 5 years left to live. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. My grandmother, maternal grandmother, did not want to lose control of her senses, her being. And I have that same sort of thing. I can't let myself get so drunk that I lose control. I stagger out what I drink over a period of time, etc. And I remember trying to talk to my grandmother about ways to help her, release her stress and stuff and relax her. And she wouldn't have anything to do with it. Now, she did keep 4 Roses whiskey under the bathroom sink for medicinal purposes.
It's
and
funny
we had a huge tablespoon, and she'd put sugar on it, and pour the 4 Roses on it, and then give it to us as a cough suppressant or a sore throat.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember, this is back when I was still drinking. We weren't married yet, but I can't remember the situation exactly, but my mother's mother was really going through a hard time. And I said, well, I don't understand why she just doesn't drink. And my parents just hit the roof. They thought that was so stupid. I'm like, well.
What was she experiencing?
Oh, she was just, I know what it might have been. It might have been when she was overdosing on Tylenol. See, my grandmother used to go to this doctor, old-fashioned doctor, who just didn't give a shit. Pain pills, just take them. Who gives a shit if you get addicted? So she was on pain pills. God knows what in those days. We're talking about the 70s, 80s. She was on them for years, and my dad just had contempt for her. He's just a drug addict. Yeah. Anyway, so then that doctor retired or something, and this new guy took over, and he didn't want to give her anything. And I remember my mother being pissed off at the guy because who cares? So anyway, my grandmother couldn't get the pain pills anymore, so she started eating Tylenol like candy. And I got home from work or something one day, and my grandmother's little man friend was like yelling at me, "Come here! You gotta help! You gotta help!" My mother had taken her car keys away because so she couldn't go up to the drugstore and get Tylenol anymore. Well, she had called him over to come pick her up, and he got her in the car, but she started just having some sort of overdose reaction to all the Tylenol. She was
Well,
out of it, and she was slumped over, and she was swallowing just like convulsively.
it was liver toxins entering her system.
And
at this point.
they had to take her to the nut house, and oh my God, it was horrible, horrible.
Yeah, I seem to remember that. I was around at that point.
You know what?
Because
Oh,
I
never
remember
mind.
her spending some time in Charter Winds or
Yeah,
something about the same
yeah.
time my mother was over there being a nutter.
When my parents were trying to get me help for my drinking, we went for like an introductory interview at Charter Winds, and the woman's interviewing me about my habits or
Drinking.
forth, and she goes, "Well, so how often do you get drunk?" And I said, "Well, I happen to know that I've gotten drunk every day for the last 2 years. You know, I know for a fact." Oh my
Jesus
God!
fuck, Lance.
Yeah, it was horrible.
What are you now at 22 years?
22
now?
years, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't. Well, I don't get into all that, but
What?
I don't understand people who they're sober for 80 years and they still crave a drink. Apparently, the guy who founded AA was begging his family to give him a drink on his deathbed. I don't give a shit anymore. To me, it's like eating shit, you know, or
I think your brain's a lot different from other people, dear. We've discussed this in the past with reactions. We've talked about using marijuana in the past years ago, and I remember us sitting around with another couple, and he and I were saying our reaction was we just basically mellow out and want to go to bed, when it comes to pot. The third person had an accident and substantial brain damage and recovered after a year from an accident. She used it for daily maintenance just to get along in the world. And you said that you used it to become hyper focused. So,
yeah, I just people who are dismissive, like, oh, it's all in your head. Well, yeah, that's right. It's brain chemistry.
yeah,
And
and people perceive things differently, and certain drugs hit people differently. I remember being in college, and somebody said, "Do you want some of such and such?" I said, "Well, I'm not really quite sure. I've heard this, that, and the other." They said, "Then you absolutely should not be taking this because you're going to go into it with a negative attitude and you want to enjoy it." I said, "Okay, I'll take your word for it."
well, in the old days, I used to smoke so much that I would just get crazy headed, and it took years to realize, you don't need that
This
much.
is when you were with E down the road?
That, but also before then.
Really?
Yeah, because first time I ever got really stoned with some people who were just they knew all about it, and their idea was no, this guy I lived with, and their idea was just pass the joint around, keep passing it until you just can't breathe anymore, and you realize now you don't need that much. You just need one or two hits, and that's it.
Does it include that guy who later became a Athens cop?
Yeah, he came over, in the cop car. And he's like, "You got to help me finish off this pot. I got to have drug tests in several days."
Jesus.
Yeah. So anyway. It's funny.
I was surprised. Your sister, so I mentioned the gummies to your sister, and she goes, "Oh, I've really been thinking about that." I said, "You're okay with that?" She goes, "It's all natural. I don't know what the big deal is." I said, "Yeah, but then there are other things and people abuse." And she goes, "Yeah, but we use cocaine in the surgery ward. There's prescription cocaine." I said, "Yeah, I realize that, and I said, that's a natural thing too." She goes, "Yeah, it's just a matter of how you abuse it." And apparently in Montana, you can get all this stuff up to an ounce, all the gummies. So she's good with this. And she's going to discuss it with him. and I think that's cool that she's considering that option. I said, if anything, Catherine, maybe it'll be a way for you to dose her so she can go to sleep and you and Chuck can have some downtime.
Oh, Lord. I thought you were about to say something naughty. Which I don't want to think
Says
about.
the guy
I don't want
who draws penises on his paintings all over.
all over.
No,
Occasionally, if
look,
somebody's naked, I'm not going to deny they
There are
have a
5
wiener.
penises in one of the things, okay?
There's what?
There's 5 penises in one of those paintings.
Well, that's because you had 5 nude people in it.
Okay. Yeah. On a show, an exhibition.
You know, it's funny. I rarely draw women's pudenda. I don't think I ever have painted such a thing. I'll paint tits, but
Yeah, a couple of those I noticed the tits were like battleship right there. Huge. I mean, they stuck out. 2 feet.
hold
They
on.
were-
I gotta tell you
they
a story.
Stuck out as far as it took to get from the shoulder to the hip.
I gotta tell you a
They
story.
stuck straight out in some of these pictures.
Okay, this woman driver showed up last night at
Oh
work,
Lord, who you been ogling?
and I told Rusty, that's the woman who used to drive the Elberton truck over at North Metro. And I knew what time she came in every day because I'd go out there and stare at her tits. I swear to Christ, each of her boobs was as big as a football. At least.
Well, you told me that one of your coworkers up in Atlanta had boobs that were so big it was big as her head, one on each side.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
She's the one that complained about the back problems all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But she wouldn't get her boobs taken down in size, though.
No. But, anyway, and the other guy goes, oh, that's right, you like big tits or something. And I'm thinking, and you don't? I mean, what the fuck is wrong with you?
How'd you end up with me?
Because I love you.
I am not big.
Well,
I've got, I started off with maybe hedgehogs there. Okay?
you,
I've never been melons. I've certainly not been human heads.
you have a big brain, which I like.
Oh, thank you. Want to go to bed? Just kidding. So, more about her boobs.
Well, that's pretty much it.
So
It's
they
just-
hadn't, dropped a couple inches?
No,
since
she
last
wears
time?
them cinched up really high.
Ooh, cross your heart.
Yeah, they don't hang down. They're like helium filled or something.
Yeah, we all wish that. Do you remember the pictures that my cousin sent me?
Not really.
She sent me pictures. She and a girlfriend went to Las Vegas for the weekend. And wherever they were topless. And she took selfies of herself laying back in the water floating. And she had her top off. And her boobs were floating. And I'm like, girl, gravity
You'll
had
have to-
no effect on it.
You'll have to show me these pictures.
I did show you the picture at the time. You said, oh, those were nice.
I don't
tits."
remember this at all.
I could not believe she sent me those pictures. But I was like, girl, gravity has no power over the flotation of water.
Let's see how long we got on the show now. 53 minutes.
That cousin is the one whose mom was afraid and ashamed of being big bosomed. And for years, she would slouch when she came to family things. And our mutual grandmother, she was a big busted woman, like triple D's. And she would always go, Renee, put your arms back, put your shoulders back, be proud of what you got.
But I can imagine being stared at by strange men all the time.
Well, her
and getting
husband
sick of
was
it.
in the Air Force. They did live on all the bases, so I'm sure there were plenty of guys ogling her. And besides, she looked fan-fucking-tastic in a bikini.
Lord. Well, we need to wrap it up. I got
Did
shit to
we were
do.
talking about boobs. Man, who wants to stop talking about boobs?
Maybe I have to sneak off to the bathroom with a bottle of olive oil for a little bit.
Oh, is that why I've got to replace olive oil so soon?
My lips are sealed. I was trying to make a joke about that, but I can't think of anything at the moment.
Oh, I could. I just refrained from saying it.
Okay. Well, so anyway, we need to wrap this up, and I need to get my shot, and I need to post a photograph, and I need to make this video.
Well, you're going to have to wait.
What was up?
I'm going to go back and start watching a British mystery something or another.
Okay.
Okay. We got all weekend. It's only Friday.
Yeah, I know. I'm really
We
getting
haven't even
sleepy
hit
now.
midnight, have we? Wow.
No, it can't be that late. Well, I've had my requisite 6 cups of tea. I'm not going to have any more. If I fall asleep, I fall asleep.
Jesus, how many tea bags in each one?
2.
So 12 tea bags a day? A day?
Yeah,
Or-
basically, yeah.
You might have an addiction issue.
You think? I've been drinking tea since I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
They don't realize when you're giving your children iced tea, you're exposing them to a psychoactive agent, and it will alter their brain chemistry permanently. All right. So is that it?
That is it.
Bye.
Bye.
I love you too. Bye.